Hello, and welcome to the second installment of our Crazy Elan Theories series. And today we're going to be talking about Beatrice. Just to jog some people's memories who may have forgotten, Beatrice is the daughter of King Midian, who led the dwarves against the fray during the Belgric War, thousands of years before the Legends of the First Empire series. We meet her in Age of Death and Age of Empire, where she assists our heroes in Nifril. Beatrice is certainly an important and special character, but today's theory covers why what we see may not even be the half of it. Beatrice was born near the start of the Belgric War, and from a young age she had the power of future sight. This immediately made her special, but it is her power and clarity that is of particular interest. We've seen other characters that have the power of future sight in Elan, such as Gwen or Fan Irlanu, the Tenkin Vision Walker, but in each of those cases their future sight was quite limited and restricted. They needed to touch the person they were doing a reading for, or needed to see their palm or use Tulan leaves. Fan Irlanu couldn't see far enough in the future to even see Ymir's full lifespan. Compare this to Beatrice, who saw the events that would lead to Rain becoming the king of the dwarves, which was over 2,000 years in the future. Yes, but there was a famous prophecy from hundreds of years ago that told about a great hero, a legendary digger of the First Order who would enter the underworld and retrieve the Sword of Midian and return it to Elan. It was also predicted that the hero would marry the long-lost descendant of Midian and restore the royal line of Belgric kings. That's a pretty specific prediction, Moya said. I know, I was the one who made it. I had it chiseled on the wall of Drumendor. This is made all the more impressive when we take into account that Beatrice made this prophecy when she was only a child, as we know she died when she was very young. Maybe she died young. She did, Rain told them. The legend says she looked like a child when Midian gave her hand in marriage. The war was going badly and he needed an alliance. Many people believe he sold her for weapons. Couldn't have been too young, Tressa said. She was old enough to have a daughter. Some would say that's debatable, Rain replied, seeing as how she died while giving birth. So her power of future sight seems unmatched by any other mortal seer. Then, once she is in Nifril, she is able to foresee the coming of our heroes. It could be argued that she sees this even more clearly than Farrell, one of the five Aesira, as she is able to send Fenelaus, who is able to bring them back to Midian's keep before Farrell can get to them. Also proving that she has future sight in Pyre, something Turin doesn't have. So at this point, her future sight seems to be on par with the likes of the Aesira and Muriel. But there is something else that I think is even more impressive. The reason Rain even comes on his quest is that Beatrice has been calling out to him from Pyre. We only have two other instances of souls in Pyre being able to communicate with someone still on Elan. One was Wraith, who communicated in an extremely limited amount to Persephone via his Galarabrin, but that only seems to be possible because the Galarabrin was made from his death. And second, Trylos was able to call out to the dwarves when he was in the Agave. But even then, it took some sort of proximity to his targets in order to accomplish that. So again, Beatrice seems to be on par with the Aesira, and perhaps even a bit superior. And now that we've laid out how special Beatrice is, how could it be that a mortal has such intense powers? And that's where we truly get into our theory. Perhaps a mortal can't be born with such powers. It would make sense. In which case, those powers would need to be given. But do we know of any way that future sight could be given to a person? We do, of course, as Muriel recounts. He was speaking of the future. All of the Aesira had some of the vision. Muriel wasn't one. She was second generation and would have lacked the talent altogether, except her father had tricked her into eating Illuria's fruit. That single bite was all it took to do the damage, to make her immortal, and to give her the sight. So eating Illuria's fruit will grant future sight. But now you're thinking, yeah, but Illuria has been dead for thousands of years. But let's look back at that last passage more closely. That single bite was all it took. While Turin did eat his entire fruit, Muriel only ate a single bite, which means Turin could have taken the rest of the fruit and kept it in case he needed it for something. And then, when the Belgric War broke out, a war Turin didn't see coming because it was started by Trylos, we saw Turin get involved numerous times to try and stop the war. When the dwarves were getting beaten back after the Frey learned the art, Turin gave the dwarves the Orenfar as protection, which was confirmed by Sullivan. Turin did provide the Belglic Longrians with the Orenfar to protect them. Then, when that wasn't enough, Turin took Fenelaus into the Sacred Grove to convince her to not exterminate the dwarves. So it isn't crazy to think that Turin may have tried a third supernatural act in order to stop the war. By giving Beatrice the fruit as a baby, knowing this would make her try to stop her father's actions. "Don't argue with my daughter, lad," Midian told him. "Beatrice has the gift. If she tells you something, listen to her. Believe her. I wish I had done that when she told me not to war with the Frey." That leaves us with just one last problem. If Beatrice did eat the fruit, why isn't she immortal? The single bite was enough for Muriel. That might be able to be explained by how she died. Recall, she died while giving birth. What if the secret to immortality is that once you pass on your life force, in the form of a child, you lose your immortality? Neither Turin and certainly not Muriel would have had a child since eating the fruit. And it sounds like Turin believes there is a way to lose immortality in his exchange with Muriel. He'll be wanting to kill me, I suspect. Can he? He shrugged. You more than anyone know there are worse things than death. But yes, I think it's possible. Trylos is smart. He's probably already figured it out, or soon will. If Turin did give the fruit to Beatrice, and then knew how she died, then he is already well aware of how he could be killed. This also would connect with what we recently learned in Fairlane. When talking about the future where Fairlane lives, Turin says, "Your term as Empress would be the candle burning brightest just before darkness consumed all." And he later also admits that in this same timeline, "You're right, I've seen it, our whole future. I witnessed through frosted glass the gentle times, the tears, the laughter, the children, the moments big and small." Perhaps one of the reasons for the downfall in this timeline is because Turin having children would make him mortal again. The last thing I will say about this theory is that my favorite part would be the irony of King Midian starting the Belgric War over Illuria's fruit, just to have his own daughter get it herself. Thank you so much for watching today's video. Be sure to subscribe and watch my other videos to learn more about the world of Elan and Riyria. Thanks!